Well, good evening. Good to see everybody. Good to have you back along with me as well for a lot of you folks that maybe I haven't seen in a while, and some of you have seen pretty recently. So it's good to have you here for our 2018 Winter Economic Summit. Tonight we're going to be talking about myth versus realities. And I think it's really a perfect event, all fresh information that I put together for tonight's presentation. And as most of you know, I've got kind of a wealth of information that I'll be going over tonight, but it is somewhat of an interactive presentation. If you have some different questions that you would like to ask, you're more than welcome to. I would say that if we get a little bit behind on our presentation, I may end up asking you to just hold your questions to the end. That way we could make sure that we get everybody home at a reasonable time as well. My presentation will probably last about an hour and 15 minutes. And my goal is to just get you up to date with where we're at in the markets, the economy, kind of new things that's happening around the building, also nationally, answer any questions that you have on Outlook as well. A couple of updates if we look at things here at the building, a couple of different updates to make you aware of. First of all, Eric Glover. Most of you have had an opportunity to meet Eric. He is one of the guys that I normally keep locked up looking at computer screens. He's upstairs. Eric has an MBA in finance. And one of the things that Eric has been working on is he's been working on his Chartered Financial Analyst designation. So it's one of the highest financial designations that you can earn from a money management standpoint. So we do already have two CFAs here in the building. Darren Munn is a CFA, as well as Eric Cartman is a CFA. And then Eric Glover is also working on that. It's a three-part exam, and it's a 3-year test. He did pass his first level 1 CFA. I think it has about a 50% failure rate, so I know it's a pretty difficult test to take, and I'm super happy and excited that he's able to accomplish that. Hallie, who many of you also know, who does a lot of our event coordination, kind of puts this type of an event together and coordinates the extremely busy schedule that I have. Also took on a full-time position here at the firm, so she's working here full-time as well. Courtney, in the last couple of months, Courtney has went on to get her certification in what is called AHIP training. So AHIP deals with Medicare enrollment. It deals with Medicare supplements. So that's been one of the questions that I think a lot of our clients have asked us about is information regarding Medicare, Medicare supplements. So much so that we have a great relationship with a company in Pittsburgh that we can help out with that. And then Courtney at the office has also become trained in that. She also took on a role on a national basis with our Florida office as a national events coordinator. So she'll be helping out with the training event that I'll be doing like next week. We have about 135 people coming to our event down in Florida, which I'll tell you about here in a second. I also just 2 weeks ago, we brought on another financial advisor to serve on the investment team. His name is Jeremy Baker. So Jeremy Baker, no relation, great last name, but he is now part of the team, and he's helping us out on the investment side as well. So a lot of great things happening around here. Some of the updates on our local and national plan. Over the years, a lot of you have come in here. We've been building out this building for the last 10 years as a resource center. So when we originally occupied this building and we bought it 10 years ago, we just had occupied only that one wing over there. And if we flash forward roughly 10 years later, we now occupy a majority of this building with over 50 plus professionals kind of running around within the building. Not everybody works directly for me, so we have like Lou Ann and John, CPAs that do the tax preparations. Of course, we have two attorneys here, so we do the estate planning work, Camelot Portfolios, Munn Wealth Management, all the way down to being able to help out, answer questions on things like home and auto insurance. And so as we've kind of expanded that, we've also been working on expanding some of the services that we offer to other financial advisors across the U.S. With that being said, we're working on a brand campaign called America's Retirement Headquarters. So a lot of the focus on the things that we're doing here is to try to continue to be better and better at helping those folks that are close to or in retirement time here at America's Retirement Headquarters. Just to give you an update on our national expansion plan, many of you are aware that I am also an owner of Peak Reps, which owns a couple of different companies down in West Palm Beach. So they're twisting my arm to make me fly down there next week for this training program, right? Good time to go and get away for a couple of days. Although today, not too bad, a little rainy, a little better weather, but Florida sounds pretty nice in February as well. 9 of us had kind of started out with a mission to change somewhat of the financial services industry. The Florida office is focused predominantly on serving other financial advisors throughout the United States. And what we've been able to do in the last year and a half or 2 years is we've been able to grow the Florida offices to now over 80 different locations that we're able to service different families across the United States. Thanks to the hard work of people like Courtney and our team down there, we have 10 full-time employees that run the show down there. We have, as I mentioned, next week, roughly 130 people coming down to that event as well. So we've got some pretty explosive growth. We were recognized in Investment Advisor magazine as one of the runner-up broker dealers of the year recently, which is, really to me a special honor to take, being only, about 2 years old in the company and to be able to beat out people that have been around for decades. And one of the things that I think really makes our Florida location somewhat unique and why we're growing so fast is we have a culture to share the best of ideas. So the guys in Pittsburgh, Shane and Mike and Bob, that group over there at Gateway Strategies, they specialize in Medicare. So it's not an area that I would consider myself an expert in. I am licensed in that category as a life and health insurance agent, but being able to tap into their resources and just gain their knowledge on what they do really well is just a phenomenal thing that allows us to take those ideas and then implement them here locally. We have like Greg over in Minneapolis, Minnesota, who's developed some really cutting-edge technology on what is called the retirement GPS. Being able to take those ideas and be able to roll them out here. And as an owner, I get the luxury to be able to see all the different things that all these great successful offices are doing, and not only share my ideas with what's working here in Northwest Ohio, but then take all those other ideas and bring them back to you guys, our clients. And because of the culture of that shared collaborative nature is a big reason why we've had a lot of great growth in what we've done as well. I was also blessed here recently in the fact that I was hired as a consultant for a company out of Atlanta, Georgia, called Impact Partnership. Their organization services financial advisors, and they had hired me as a consultant to launch one of their small group training and advisors programs. So I'm the lead mentor in helping other financial advisors learn about all the different ways to run their practice and what's called the 12 points of impact. We launched that last month. So last month, again, they twisted my arm and made me go to Las Vegas and do a presentation to the group of folks out there. I was blessed to be on stage, talking with about 100 financial advisors who are considered some of the top in the industry today, and just talking to them about the value of coaching and mentorship. To here just a little over a month later, we've already had over 100 people sign up for that coaching and mentorship program. The same thing, it gives me the opportunity to kind of take a look at some of those ideas, be able to kind of integrate those ideas into our practice and learn some other unique things on what's happening as well. So I'm super excited about all the great growth that we've had here locally and nationally. We always do try to roll out then some new technologies. So as I see different things that are happening at these presentations, I try to keep you up to date on what we have and what's available for you as well. Whether it's the software like Riskalyze that we'll talk more about tonight, or one of the new things that we have, which is called Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft is some new technology that we had, and based upon some of the feedback that we got from you guys, our clients, what we had heard is that it would be really neat if there is a way that we could deliver the right customized communication based upon what your personal preferences are. So whether you want to get stuff on a regular basis in the mail, whether you want to get more updates regarding market-specific material or educational topics. With Infusionsoft, this year what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on building out a customized communication plan that allows each of our clients to select the amount of information that they want, the way they want it, and make sure that we get it delivered to you just completely based upon your own preferences. So that'll be pretty neat as well. We've also heard a lot from our clients in the fact that they would like to see these events. I'm really excited that you guys are with me tonight and the group that we had this morning. That means we're stuck here in Northwest Ohio, right? So we're all together. There are a good group of clients that can't be here tonight, whether it be maybe they don't feel well, maybe they're traveling, maybe they're down in Florida over the winter time as well, and they like to hear these type of an event. So I get that, and in fact we are videotaping today's presentation. I have Ryan joining us today. That would give you guys as well as our clients an opportunity that they could listen to these webinars after the fact. Ryan and I are spending all week together working on a video educational series that will be talking about a variety of different topics so we can deliver information to you if you want to watch it on a video format. The other thing I've heard from and I've listened and we're doing as well is I've heard from clients that says, sometimes it'd be nice to be able to have a conversation just on the phone, be able to do a telephone review, be able to do a GoToMeeting, be able to do a webinar. And I have been doing that for the past 2 years with our Florida office, and I understand the value of maybe not wanting to drive into the office on a snowy Tuesday in the middle of January. And so we're also working on a new website that's going to be released here in the next couple of weeks that'll make those type of tools available for you as well. So we can have you come into the office. I love seeing everybody face to face, but if you do want to spend 15, 30 minutes and just have a telephone review, we're going to make that available for you as well. So there's some great things. A lot of that is based upon the feedback and advice that I have gotten from you, our clients, so I always welcome feedback. And in fact, with that being said, one of our clients, Vern Kaufman, is with us tonight. And Vern had approached me a couple of weeks ago, and he had talked to me about some things that he was doing in his own family situation to be able to create some other resources to help in the event from an estate planning perspective, making sure that he had all of the information available. So in the event anything ever happens, it was kind of a smooth process. And I don't want to steal your thunder, Vern. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite you up here, Vern, and you can tell us a little bit about some of the resources that we have with you as well.
We rehearsed this in the morning, so that's why it went so smooth. Hi. If I can get you to pull out the document that looks like that, this is what we're going to be talking about.
So the document at the top is entitled Estate Planning Checklist.
Right.
That's the document he's talking about inside of your packet.
A week ago, my wife come up to me and she says, I'm telling everybody you're going to be 84 this year. And I says, oh, well, that's not quite right. And she says, what do you mean? And I says, well, I'm going to be 85 this year. And she said, no. I says, well, just born in 33, today's 18. I think it comes out that way. So anyhow, she goes away and she comes back about 15 minutes later and she says, if you pass away, is there going to be enough money in there for me to live the rest of my life comfortably? And I says, well, we've gone through this a couple times, but I guess it changes. So anyhow, I created the figures for her and give them to her and made her feel a little more comfortable. And the reason I say that is this past year, I've lost a number of dear friends, some of them that I've had for a long time. And I found myself helping them through this process, mainly because the information that they needed wasn't there when they needed it. And so I happened to come across this document and I've used it with my friends, and it in the household most of the time one person is the one that's in charge of the monies, okay? And that in my generation it was usually the man. Well, that's slowly changing, but to this day. So whichever case, if you lose it, one of your mates, you want to make sure that your mate that is left has the information they need to go on with their life. And that's what this is all about. And so I had a friend that passed away last year, and he happened to have born on the same day, the same year, and the same month as I was. And boy, did that wake me up a little bit, you know. So, but unfortunately, his wife was not in the loop. And as a result of that, she needed a lot of help. And we had to get things set up for her so that he was a veteran. We had to make sure that she was able to get the benefits from the VA that was due her. We had to get her to the Social Security office to make sure that she got the larger Social Security benefit, which a lot of people don't realize, that you don't just have to go on in life if your husband made all the money and put a lot of and getting a larger Social Security check, that you are entitled to request that benefit. And so we got her set up in that. And so and she thought she knew she had a will, but she didn't know she had a trust drawn up. And so we had to go through that process with her, because we tried to keep her out of probate court for obvious reasons. But anyhow, so if you take a look at this, it's pretty good. And what I did with this is keep it dollar free. It's information that you want a person to know about where your assets are, where your income's coming from, and put, the organization that's down there, the name and the phone number and the address, so that when they need it, they'll be able to have access at it. And so it's pretty self-explanatory. It takes a little while to get it all lined up, though. But anyhow, and one of the things I suggest to you is that you fix up your house loan or your car loan. You put that on auto pay. And the same with your utilities. Put them all on auto pay. And the reason being is that when the partner that's left is gone through a tragic event, and they need a little time to get their head screwed on. So if they don't have to worry about paying this bill and where the checks are coming in from and all that kind of stuff. So I found that to be very helpful. So that's what I have found, and that's kind of why I talked to Nolan about getting this thing set up and pass it out to you people, and I hope you would look at it and take seriously about doing that. Okay, I think whatever in the future lies, somebody's going to say thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I didn't tell my joke.
You can still do it.
Oh yeah, the good news. The good news and the bad news. Okay, the good news is your investments have done well this year. The bad news is this guy's gotten so thin that the Marines are after him again.
Thank you so much, Vern. Ideas like that, those are the type of things that if there's anything that we should be aware of, feel free to share that. We made that all available. We took the document that Vern provided for us, recreated it. And what you can do is you can take that, and after we get done with the information, you can take the other information out, you can stick it on the envelope and put it with your estate planning documents. If you wanted to take it one step further, what I'd also encourage you to do is to give our office a copy of it, because our office would be more than happy to coordinate all of this in the event that something ever happens to a loved one. That's really what we're here for. But it's just documents like that that make the process a whole lot easier and helpful for family members as well. Vern is right. I have continued to kind of keep my weight off a little bit. My oldest son is 14, so we will be leaving in June. We are going to Marathon Keys, and we are rowing out 8 miles into the ocean on a Polynesian warship to live on a deserted island for a week. So rowing out 8 miles, I figured to live on a deserted island for a week, I probably ought to keep my weight off and try to stay in shape. But we're doing a lot of high adventures now in the Boy Scouts of America. He finished up his hockey season. We came back from Indianapolis last night, and their team took the championship, so it was a kind of a great way to finish up the hockey season. They had a really good season as a Bantam player. He was able to score a couple goals, and just a great, exciting weekend. My youngest son, Carter, is now 11. Kind of a little bit of a sad time for me in the fact that this is the last month that Carter will be involved in the Cub Scouts. So last night, Carter and I, as well as the Scoutmaster and my other son and my wife, we made what is called his Arrow for Arrow of Light, which is the highest award that he can earn as Cub Scouts. It's the only award that actually transferred over into Boy Scouts, but he will be crossing over to Boy Scouts next month, which means, I'll continue to follow him down the Boy Scout path. But I've been so actively involved as a Cub Master for all these years. It's just, kind of always a unique time in our lives. I like the high adventure stuff, but I love little kids too. They're like sponges. So a lot of great experiences and fun stuff that's happening as well. This is just talking about here on this particular slide, this is talking about some of the tax updates. So now what we have is we have the impact of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, these changes and how they might apply to you. There's a lot of numbers here. It's probably hard to see all of these numbers, but the bottom line is pretty much across the board, the tax liability change for either low-income earners to high-income earners across the board. In most cases, tax liability should be decreasing, so that's a good thing. I've also got some corporate tax relief going on as well. Something to have a conversation about here at tax season time, whether you're going to be meeting with one of our accountants or you have your own accountant and be talking about things as well. The conversations that I think are important to have are looking at, where is the future of the tax liability going to be? So here we have this massive unfunded liabilities and the debt problems, yet still historically speaking, one of the lowest tax rates in history as well. So another good opportunity over the next several years to look at some tax planning strategies. Obviously, when you get together with us, we can have a conversation with you and the accountant about how to implement those ideas. We do have a presentation coming up in a couple of weeks. You'll get an invitation on that, but in the next couple of weeks we have a presentation just specifically on those tax law changes. That event will be in April, so I'll make sure that I get you out to that event where we can talk just the evening regarding taxes. The other thing that I would say is at this time of the year we get a lot of phone call from our clients asking when they're going to get their tax documents or asking for their tax documents. And so just to clarify, I would say our office and our building does not produce any 1099s. No 1099s come from this office directly. Your 1099s are always going to come directly from the investment company that you work with. You are more than welcome to call us and ask, for a copy of your tax document. But just to walk through what that looks like, when you call us, usually I'm in a meeting, so if you talk to Courtney, she's going to pass along a message to me. One of us at the office is then going to make a phone call to the investment company, and then after that phone call to the investment company, they're going to send us a copy of the tax information. We're going to get that information, we're going to turn around and we're going to then send it on to you. We are more than happy to do that, but quite frankly, we're just an extra step in the process. If you wanted to make life easier and make things a little quicker, you're always more than welcome to call the investment company directly on the statement. Keep in mind, again, that's what we're here for. We have no problem helping out and taking those phone calls. I just wanted to again reiterate that we don't provide and nor do we publish the 1099s here at our office. But we also do have an accountant and several CPAs Lou Ann and John are here. A lot of you know Ron Bustecker as well. If you need help with any of the accounts, we're happy to help out. So the myths versus realities, and what we're going to be talking about is, number one, is the market is going to keep going up. We'll hit on a little bit about Warren Buffett and his $100 billion in cash. Dr. Robert Shiller and his strategy and his update on time to head for the exits. What our methodology and philosophy is. The next is the myth is good returns means it's a good investment. Chasing short-term results can be costly. You've got the difference of an accumulation versus a distribution phase in different time frames in life. The next is talking about investing as a complex process, so the importance of kind of keeping it simple. Buying individual stocks also allows you to customize your preferences, allows you to eliminate dislikes, allows you to screen for things that you do like, allows you to use some of the technology that we have today to hopefully make us a better investor and picking out those investment choices for you. And then the last one I'm going to hit on tonight is talking about annuities are bad. There are different types of annuities, and I want to kind of cover the ins and outs of how they work as well. I Googled this morning, so this is hot off the press. A lot of you come to the events that we put on every 6 months in our Economic Summit, and you want to get an outlook about what do we think the market's going to do this year. And, you know, we do have, again, probably 25 people within the building that are serving in one capacity or another on the investment team. As I mentioned, Eric on my team, level 1 CFA, MBA in finance. He's, you know, full-time looking at charts and graphs. So we're always willing to give you our outlook and our opinion, and tonight I'll share with you what ours is, as well as what some of the other people that we work with, their opinion is. But I would say is, at the end of the day, the market doesn't care what my opinion is. The market doesn't care what any of the CFA's opinion is. You know, the market's going to do what the market's going to do. So the quicker you realize that the market is beyond your control, I think the better off we can make more sound investment decisions. When I Googled 2018 stock market predictions this morning, are there any guesses, because I know those numbers are kind of small, any guesses on what the search results came back with for 2018 stock market predictions? Thousands, okay. It's more. 25,400,000 results came up today regarding 2018 stock market predictions off of Google. And I point that out because, again, everybody's willing to give you an opinion about what to do. If you look at this, you know, one of the first ones that it talks about here is talking about digital currency like Bitcoin, you know, foreign investments. You know, if you read it, you might have the next one talking about the crash is coming tomorrow, where the next one after that might be talking about the markets, you know, probably look to be fantastic as well. On the right-hand side, this is a chart of one of the tools that we are using here at our office through our software called Shaken Analytics. So within Shaken Analytics, we're looking at what is called technical analysis. So within technical analysis, this shows as of yesterday, this is the close of business as of yesterday, what the markets look like. So we can see that the markets here had this quick sell-off, but have had a pretty strong rally and recovery. If we get below that brown line there, that has historically been one of the warning indicators. You can see that we just moved back above that. So according to this software, the trends currently are strong in the market. It shows that the market right now is maybe a little bit oversold, but there's still kind of relative strength, more money flowing into the market than out of the market. So some of the things that I'll talk to you tonight about, we'll be talking about, you know, some of these other predictions. And with that being said, I want to say that, again, I'm very optimistic. I think this country, you know, is a great country, and there could be, you know, some great markets to come for an awful long time, and want to make sure that we take advantage of those. At the same time, I also want to be realistic in the fact that it's been, you know, 10 years now since the market has had a downturn. You know, so historically speaking, you know, at some point, the market's going to have some type of downturn. And my goal of tonight's presentation is to help kind of walk you through that fire safety drill. So let's practice this together while things are doing really well. it's going to be a lot easier for us to run the fire safety drill to look at what are the responses that we're going to take if and when a crisis happens. So if things catch on fire, if we know what the exit strategy is, if we know what the plan is, it can get you in a position where you don't have to make a panic decision. It can make more of a sound financial decision. With that being said, I do bring up a couple of charts here that are creating a little bit of some concern about the valuations overall in the market. So this chart on the left-hand side, this is a chart by Deutsche Bank. It's the global financial data, Bloomberg Finance. And what this shows is 217 years worth of data. So in 217 years worth of data, what they are doing is they are looking at the valuations between equities and bonds. So on the lower down here would be an indication where equity prices compared to bond prices are fairly low. What this chart shows, according to, again, Deutsche Bank, is it shows that the valuation levels currently in the market are the highest that they've seen in 217 years. The chart on the right side here, this chart was created by Goldman Sachs Asset Management, Bloomberg, and Dr. Robert Shiller, which Robert Shiller, as many of you know, is a manager that we use a lot in your portfolios, most likely is in your portfolio already, somebody that I also have a lot of respect for, so I put this chart up here as well. What this chart shows us is the S&P 500, the subsequent 10-year returns based upon various valuations in the market. So over here is showing, historically speaking, what the market returns have been when things are more on sale. So this is the valuation. The further you go that way, the more discounted equities are, which in turn you can see, historically speaking, has then created higher equity prices over the subsequent 10-year time frame. Over here, this kind of shows you, according to this chart, where we're at currently in the valuation time frame. So it says, according to their chart, in 99% of the time at current valuation level, equity returns have been single-digit or negative. The chart on the left-hand side was a recent article that was published regarding some of the cash positions that Warren Buffett has. So again, in my opinion, Warren Buffett has demonstrated that he's probably been one of the most successful investors of modern times, and he's done it by just simply sticking with a very disciplined investment approach. Warren Buffett gets conservative when everybody else gets aggressive, and then Warren Buffett buys when everybody panics, right? He sticks with the common sense principles of buy low, sell high. His whole philosophy is really quite simply just that. Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway has roughly $587 billion, of which he currently has about $109 billion in cash. So the question becomes, what does Warren Buffett know in the fact that he has 20% of his portfolio out of the market right now? Is he maybe waiting for some type of opportunity to be able to take advantage of things? On the right-hand side is some commentary by Dr. Robert Shiller. Again, as I mentioned, somebody that I follow. I have a lot of respect for him. Again, we have a lot of great qualified people here at the building. Dr. Robert Shiller won the Nobel Prize in Economics, and you'll see by some of his performance numbers, has also backed it up in results as well. And one of the recent videos that came out is he said that the stock market today looks similar to the stock market in 1928. Inside of the packet of information, I also tried to arm you with a lot of wealth of information to be able to kind of take home and digest more of the things that we talked about tonight. Inside of there is this article that Dr. Shiller recently put out. This is January 19, 2018, so a pretty recent article. If you read this whole article, what Dr. Shiller goes on to say is he goes on to say that, financially and fundamentally, the economy looks strong. Things look good. Again, valuations are at a high level, but even Dr. Shiller is not saying doom and gloom tomorrow. There still can be some really good opportunities in the equity market over the next couple of years. But again, these are the type of things that I think that we should be thinking about, because at the end of the day, nobody controls the stock market. So how we get ready and positioned for that, I think is going to make a big difference for us as well. We do these events and we always talk about, over the last 6 months, here's what we said was going to happen, here's what did happen, and here's what we think for the next 6 months. So how many here were with me 6 months ago when we did this event? Okay, yeah, about half the room. So 6 months ago, we had invited a couple of other people to speak at the events. We had First Trust, our friends from Chicago, were here talking about how global investing was a good opportunity. We had the group from DoubleLine talking about the Robert Shiller CAPE Index strategy. We had Darren Munn from Camelot Portfolios joined us to talk about cash flow investing. And then we had Lord Abbott talking to us about the fixed income market, specifically regarding bond funds. 6 months ago, what happened versus what we said, if we looked at this chart here, this chart is talking about what First Trust said. So First Trust said, internationally, the international markets have never really gotten back to where they used to be. That the U.S. market is at record territory, but internationally there's still some really good opportunities. And we can see, looking back over the last several months, the international markets have continued to do well. I continue to believe personally that the international markets also create some good opportunities. One of the things that I like about First Trust and why I work a lot with them is they also use a defined investment strategy based upon mathematical formulas. In this particular strategy, the dividend yield on this portfolio is currently over 4%. So a lot of you are either close to or in retirement time, and cash flow is one of the bigger objectives to make sure that we have predictable cash flow. So if we can't control the stock market, if we can focus on generating predictable cash flow, that is a more controllable item, as well as trying to focus on keeping fees and expenses down as well, are the two items that we can focus on. I do like First Trust because of the fact that it does generate some really good cash flow and also gives us an opportunity if the international markets continue to do well. I'll be with Joshua next week. He's one of the guys at the conference presenting as I am next week. So I do spend time on a regular basis with our team to hear directly from them on what they have to say as well. DoubleLine was talking about the Robert Shiller strategy that a lot of you have as well inside of the portfolios that give us some of the equity exposure. This strategy is also a very defined investment approach where Dr. Shiller takes the 10 sectors of the stock market. Those sectors are things like energy, consumer discretionary, healthcare, real estate. And he looks at 30 years worth of data to determine the 5 most undervalued sectors. And then he takes and he knocks out one of them that has the lowest trailing 12 months return, then equally weights within the 4 remaining sectors the positions in the market that give him the exposure, sticking with that every month to rebalance and buy the undervalued approach. Dr. Robert Shiller, over the last 3 years, with 1,033 large cap managers, according to Morningstar, that are in his category, he was able to outperform 99% of other managers. In the last year, out of 1,189 managers that are in his category, he was able to outperform 96% of managers. So again, great advice. Backs it up with really good results, and something that is good to take a look at. I'll come back and revisit that, but I also did put inside of here a brochure. This is from DoubleLine. This is dated as of January 31st, 2018. This is also a pretty recent brochure. So as Dr. Shiller and I point out, just because the market's overvalued doesn't mean there's no opportunities. It doesn't mean that the overall market, within that, you can't still find some of the opportunities. We just had to do a little bit of a job, searching out where some of those diamonds in the rough are, if you will. So if we wanted to look at this fact sheet from Dr. Shiller here, what we can see on this one side on the right hand, we can see the 4 sectors that he currently is allocated in, which is consumer discretionary, healthcare, technology, and industrials. So if anybody wanted to know where Dr. Schiller sees opportunities, you can kind of see that right now. Camelot Portfolios, of course, we have a great relationship with Darren Munn. Darren is also speaking at a conference this week, and he focuses on a cash flow methodology. So regardless of what he purchases, he wants to buy things that generate really good dividends and interest as well. Darren is still continued to be kind of overweight within the real estate category, overweighted within financial services, and also overweighted within the energy sector are the three categories that he has. Next, in the fixed income market. In the fixed income market, we work closely with Lord Abbett. Lord Abbett has been around since 1929, so they have a long history, and we work with them on an institutional basis. On the left-hand side is also a fund that most of you, if you look at, you'll probably notice in your portfolio. This is called the Lord Abbett, the Short Duration Fund. In the last 10 years, there's roughly 247 managers that are in that category. And according to Morningstar, they're still outperforming 99% of the managers. Over the last year, they were able to outperform 90% of the managers on 491 different funds within their category as well. You'll notice here, one of the things that we're sticking with Lord Abbett is sticking with what is called short duration, so things that mature, and I'll show you a slide here in a minute why that's important. The other category that you'll probably notice in your portfolio is Lord Abbett, the high yield. Within the high yield category, again over the 10 years time frame, 312 managers to pick from. Lord Abbett continues to be in the #1 spot and #1 percentile, I should say, over the last 10 years. Even within the last year, out of 671 managers, they were able to outperform 91% of the managers within their category. So those are the teams that were here and what the results are. One of the things that I would point out as well is if you notice within the bond category, as we begin to kind of take this curve and switch it a little bit to more rising interest rates, it does present a little bit of a risk within the fixed income market as far as opportunities, and I'll share a couple ideas there and talk to you about ways that maybe you can achieve more. I like this slide, and this slide is talking about the myth, good returns means it's a good investment. On the left-hand side here, what this chart shows is over the last 8 or 9 years, the top is showing you the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So we now know, for the last several years, the market has done really well and continued to go up. And what you can see is kind of what the average equity investor did. So generally kind of flat for several years up until about 2015 was one of the lowest points. But since 2015, what you can see is that the average equity investor, the retail investor, is now dumping money in at the highest level in a long, long time, right? So with the market at record highs, the average retail investor is dumping money in at a record pace. The slide on the right-hand side, again at the top, same time frame, showing again the Dow Jones Industrial Average has had a pretty darn good run here for quite some time. What we can see is what institutional investors are doing. So people that are trading in large dollar figures, defined as institutional investors, really for a while now they've been starting to pull back their equity exposure. So kind of an interesting observation, right? If retail investors are pouring money in at record paces at all-time record highs, institutions are beginning to take money back. This slide is important to me because history has shown time and time again the average investor gets it wrong. So luckily you guys are here so you get to see these, so hopefully I can educate you about where there's some opportunities at, how to kind of rebalance the portfolios, but also to make sure that we still have some ammunition that we can be able to take advantage of if and when things get bad. This over here, what this shows is this shows the money flow of retail investors. So this goes back to 2007. So we know what happened in 2008. So after 2008, what did retail investors do? They spent the next several years just really kind of yanking money out of U.S. equities. And what did institutions do? Institutions continue to pour money in. Well, again, we now know, looking back, what the results of that decision were. So again, I'm not saying that, again, that the market can't continue to run. I think there are a lot of positive reasons why the market can continue to run. These are things to just make observation of as well. And again, if we can kind of run the fire safety drill ahead of time and we know what the plan of attack, I think it allows us to make a smarter investment decision as well. So this method is investing as a complex process. What we would have here is a definition of formula-based investing. So within formula-based investing, on the left-hand side is what is defined as a traditional asset allocation or a style box diversification. So style box diversification, this is broken down into large, and then you have growth, value, and blend, large, medium, small, and international companies. Over here we have fixed income portfolios such as low credit, short-term fixed income, and that diversification goes out into long credit type investments as well. So traditional asset allocation, what it would say is that it'll say over time the stock and bond market go up in value. And quite frankly, that's a fairly accurate statement, and we've been in this environment for quite a while where the stock and bond market have continued to perform very well. The challenge is you have to kind of define your definition of time. So again, I'm in my 40s. I by no means want the market to go down at all either. I love looking at when things do really well. Quite frankly, it's a lot easier to meet with you guys when things are doing well. But I also have to be realistic in the fact that at some time the market will have some type of pullback. The other issue that I see about this is I would look at this as kind of a buckshot type of an approach. So it's like taking a shotgun and blasting it out there and hopefully I hit something. What I think is if there's areas of concern such as long-term credit that maybe has historically not done well in rising interest rates, I would rather take a sniper shot approach and eliminate particular categories in using a formula-based investment strategy. So over here is just kind of an example from a visual standpoint of how we're taking that information, how we're putting it into it. There are different strategies that we're utilizing here at the office that we've created, such as the Freedom Formula, the Dividend Kings. There's also these other formula-based investment approaches by other companies that I like a lot. We talked a minute ago about First Trust and their defined investment approach of picking international stocks. There's also Power Dividend, one of the managers that we work with picking dividend-paying stocks. And again, the very defined investment strategy of Dr. Robert Shiller. So by having a defined formula-based investment approach, I think it really helps all of us understand exactly the reasons of what we're going to buy, how long we're going to hold it, and when we're going to sell. If any of your investments, if you have a question about what is the investment strategy or approach, please come in and see me. I'd be more than happy to go over it with you. You also can talk with Eric. He is also serving on the investment team as well. This is the next question that a lot of folks have been asking me as well about bonds in rising interest rate environment. So we've kind of begun to shift and change the curve with interest rates, and they've begun to raise interest rates. Historically speaking, some bonds have not performed very well, and other bonds have done a little bit better. What this chart shows is this chart shows periods of time where you have experienced greater than 100 basis points increase in the 10-year Treasury, kind of like what we're going into now and we're beginning to experience. So we got the 90s, all the way up to 2016. This shows the return of the 10-year U.S. Treasury and what those results were over that time frame. This shows the Barclays Aggregate Bond Index and what the returns have been as well. The category that I just covered with you guys and the category that we've been working with Lord Abbott on, first and foremost, are in the short-term corporate treasuries. So you can see within the short-term corporate treasuries how they've been doing in rising interest rates, and they've been able to hold their own pretty well. The other two categories that we are overweighted, we're overweighted in these three categories right here: short-term, floating rate, and high yield. So within floating rate, we can see there, and in high yield, we can see that. I recently was together with Lord Abbott. I spend a lot of time with them as well. I talked to him on the phone just a couple of weeks ago when the market got a little crazy for a couple of days to get his feedback and opinion regarding the credit markets as well. I adjusted and adapted a couple of things to take advantage of what was going on. But as you can see, past performance doesn't guarantee future results, but we've even tried to think through a lot of the fixed income market and what's out there. It still also comes back to the independent income system, which most of you have been in. You've seen me draw this on the board. And the independent income system is a way to be able to position each of your accounts for a specific goal. And once we know the time frame of that goal, then it's a little bit easier to figure out, what type of an investment vehicle is a little bit more suitable to put inside of there. So we maybe don't necessarily want to have stocks inside of a current income portfolio. We probably want to position that more for long-term growth. Reliable income sources and making sure you have enough covered inside of that as well. So our investment methodology within the independent income system is still really a very defined process designed to try to keep it simple. The fourth myth that we'll talk about is annuities are bad. And I had an opportunity a couple of years ago when I was writing for the Toledo Free Press to do an interview with Susie Orman. I think most of you have probably seen that interview. If you haven't seen that interview, just let me know and we can get you a copy of it, because we actually go on and talk quite a bit within that Toledo Free Press article about the different time frames of money, different things that Susie Orman likes and dislikes. But here's a video clip of her talking a little bit about annuities.
Hey, Mary J. from PA. You sent in a question and you want to know from me, why do I not like annuities? How much time you got, girlfriend? Here's the thing. It's not that I don't like all annuities. There are some annuities that I like. I like single premium deferred annuities. I like, if you're older and you have a medical condition, sometimes I like medical annuities. The annuities that I do not like are variable annuities. A variable annuity is like a mutual fund owned by an insurance company. Within the contract, because it's a contract, it's an annuity. Oh, it gets so complicated there. I've written about this in great lengths in my books, on my website, so you can go there and find the information that you want. However, this is what you need to know. Just stay away from variable annuities and you'll be just fine.
Because some of this, I kind of want to walk you through that. So I think, again, that's a pretty good, feedback from Susie. Again, I don't agree with everything she says, and I'm sure she wouldn't agree with everything that I say. But again, what I want you to do is just try to have a better understanding about the different types of an annuity. In our world today, it seems to me that there's two big camps. So there's one camp that says you should put all of your money in annuities, and then there's another camp that says you should put all of your money in the stock market. And in my opinion, there's probably no Swiss Army knife of investing. There's different tools and different financial products. They each have their pros and cons. Even within the annuity space, there's different pros and cons out there as well. So I do hear that myth sometimes annuities are bad. One of the types of annuities that I really like, some of you probably have already, or I've had a conversation with you about, are what are called fixed indexed annuities. So within a fixed index annuity, one of the things that you get to take advantage of is you don't have any risk associated with the stock or bond market. So if and when the stock or bond market has a major downturn, the fixed index annuity is going to be an account that's protected from loss due to the market decline. It does, although, on the other hand, it allows you to participate in growth of the market as the market does well. It gives you an opportunity where you can lock in some of the gains that you have. Most likely the products that I use are on an annual basis, but they have different time frames as well. It can be used to generate income in retirement. So if you're looking for more predictable income, that can be a vehicle as an annuity as well, and it can give you some, more potential upside than what other fixed options are. So if I ran through that, what I can do is I can show you kind of the ins and outs. Because within a fixed index annuity, if you don't add any riders onto the account, you can have one of these accounts without any fees or expenses. And so a lot of people will tell me, well, that's too good to be true. How can you have a product with no fees or expenses? So insurance companies are in business to make money, and I wanted to walk you through kind of the mechanics of how these particular products work. For simplicity, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show an example here of somebody who puts a deposit of $100,000 into a fixed index annuity. I just use $100,000 because it's an easy round number for me to do the math on, but you can use any dollar amount that you want. Our company here, what we do is we typically will shop out about 50 major insurance companies every month to see which company has the best rates that are out there. And the rates kind of vary from month to month. So what one company has as a great rate, next month another company might have a better rate. To me, I don't really care which company we work with. It's which one, ultimately gives us one of the best rates that are out there. On your statement, so on the client statement, all they see is their deposit. So if you make a deposit, this would be what you see. What I want to do is I want to show you the Disney behind the scenes magic, though, on how this is all put together. If you make a deposit with an insurance company, what they're going to do is they're going to go out and they're going to buy U.S. government bonds. The best way that I could describe this is if you've ever bought like a Series E bond, you buy a bond at a discount and over time it matures at face value. Similar concept here in the fact that this company in our example knows there is a $10,000 spread between their deposit and the maturity. The spread is how the insurance company makes their money. And the insurance company also pays companies like myself and our firm as an agent in the transaction. So when we have money in the stock market, you have management fees and expenses. There are no fees and expenses because we're not really managing a portfolio because it's not invested directly into the market. Instead, we're getting paid as an agent in the transaction. These bonds earn interest, and let's just say that the interest is $2,500. The insurance company will take that $2,500, they'll typically pull it together with the thousands of other policyholders that they have, and they will go to the stock market and they will talk to somebody who's called a market maker. He's who I commonly refer to as the guy running around on TV like a madman. And they're going to say, I have $2,500. If I give you $2,500, how much of the market would you allow us to participate in if the stock market is positive in 1 year from now? That by definition is called an option contract. So they have the option to participate in gains if the market is positive. So in this example, you can see how the money's really never invested directly into the market. Now, in 1 year from now, the market can only do one of three things. The market could go up, the market could stay the same, or the market could go down. There are different types of products that are out there. One is called a participation product. So if you had a product that had a 50% participation rate, that would mean that you get half of the return when the market goes up. So if the market goes up 20%, half of 20 is 10. They would take your $100,000 deposit, they would add in 10%, which is $10,000, and you would get a statement in the mail that shows that your account is worth $110,000. This is how an investor in a fixed index annuity makes money. The next thing is the stock market could go up, it could go down, it could be right where it's at today. Half of zero is still zero. Or the market could go down 20%. If the market goes down 20%, the insurance company does not have to exercise their option. The option is a right to buy, it's not an obligation. So in any given year when the market is down, the insurance company just simply says, no, thank you. And next year they do this all over again. So I explain this because I think it's important to understand how the insurance company makes their money, how they pay agents in the transaction, and companies like our firm, and also how you make your money. As I mentioned earlier, though, there's pros and cons to anything that you do. One of the negatives about an annuity is an annuity doesn't allow you to get typically all the gains when the market goes up. So again, if we use our $100,000 example, an investor in the stock market, if we ignored fees and expenses for a minute, because again, most investments in the stock market have some type of management fee and expense, but just putting that aside for a minute, if the market goes up 20%, the stock market investor is at $120,000. The investor who puts it into the fixed index annuity, using our example of a 50% participation rate, would be at $110,000. So this is one of the drawbacks here. So if an investor believes the market is going to do extremely well, they have more opportunity as the market goes up. At some point, if and when the market goes down, the stock market investor, if it goes down 20%, would be at $96,000. In a fixed index annuity, once they deposit money into your account, it becomes your new starting point. So you can only go forward, not go backwards. So even if things got really bad and the market went down even further, what you can see is that the fixed index annuity would stay level. And eventually what goes down should come back up. And so if the next year the market goes up 10%, the stock market investor is back up to $88,000. Half of 10% is 5%. So this equity index annuity owner is at roughly $116,000. So there's somewhat of a trade-off between not capturing all the upside and not taking any of the downside. That is one of the potential negatives. The second negative of an annuity contract is an annuity contract has something called a surrender charge associated with it. Surrender charges can vary from company to company and product to product. The most common that are in the marketplace today are 7 to 10 year contracts. There's shorter term, there's longer term. 7 to 10 years is the most common today. So if we used our example, the $100,000, and let's just say we picked a 10-year contract. In 10 years from now, or actually let's say in 5 years, in 5 years from now, how much do you feel and how much do you think that this account would be worth? Any guesses? We want to take a guess? Ron, what do you think? 95,000? Okay. So I'm curious on why you think 95,000 in 5 years from now.
Well, the decreasing percentage that each year drops down.
If you took a surrender accurate statement. So the account value is what I was kind of looking for. I should have clarified my statement a little bit better. So in 5 years from now, hopefully you've had a couple of good years that the market has grown and been able to lock in a couple of gains. Maybe 1 or 2 years that the market didn't grow and you got some zeros. I think it's fair to assume that this account might be worth, let's just say, $130,000. We know that because it's principally guaranteed against loss, we know that the statement value won't be less than $100,000. In 5 years from now, let's say that you come in and you have a conversation with me and you say, you know, Nolan, Northwest Ohio isn't for me anymore. I would like to go down to Marathon Keys, where you went and did that Polynesian warship, and I'm going to not go out in the ocean 8 miles. I'm going to just put my feet on the sand and listen to Margaritaville and relax. And I need like a $50,000 withdrawal to be able to get the place I want down there. Normally what I would do is I'd sit down and we'd have a conversation. And again, we would go back to don't put all your eggs in one basket. You usually have a variety of different accounts that you can pull money from, but at the end of the day, it's still your money. You can take it from anywhere that you want. So let's say that you decided to take it from the fixed index annuity contract. Most of these contracts, they allow you to take out 10% per year for free after the first year, and that means that on a $100,000 deposit, we could take out $10,000. The remaining $40,000 would have a penalty associated with it because it's over and above your free withdrawal amount. Generally speaking, annuity contracts, their surrender charges usually work based upon the number of years that you have it. So a 10-year contract would traditionally have a 10% penalty in the first year, 9% in the second year, 8%, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then eliminated. Just because it's late, I'm just going to say that this company still has a 10% penalty in the fifth year. 10% of $40,000 is $4,000. So this particular investor, to get a check for $50,000, has a $4,000 surrender charge. This is one of the other negatives about an annuity, so it's important to make sure that you have plenty of liquidity associated with your accounts. And again, that's why you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. There's a couple of reasons why I brought this up in today's presentation. There's a couple of products that I like in particular right now as well. My wife, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, we were out in Las Vegas, and what I didn't mention was it was also my wife's birthday when we were in Las Vegas. She turned the big 4-0. Sorry it's on video, but she's not here. So I go up to my wife and I'm like, hey, for your 40th, let's go to Las Vegas. She's like, oh my gosh, that sounds great. Thank you so much. I'd love to go to Las Vegas. Perfect 40th birthday. And I was just like, well, and I just had to speak for like 2 days while we're there, you know? Got to make it tax deductible. When we go out to Las Vegas, we had a great time. My mother-in-law, who lives in Bryan, Ohio, she sold her house in October, and pretty much all of her worldly belongings that she didn't sell are now in my attic or in a storage unit here. Her and her husband got an RV, and in October last year, they jumped in the RV and they took off west. And so they have been traveling in an RV, living out in an RV ever since the end of last year. My wife had not seen her mother, and they're super close, being that she was only in Bryan in several months. Mother-in-law and her husband were able to meet us in Las Vegas, so they pulled their RV up in Las Vegas. We got together with them, had a couple of great days catching up with them. Also, we were able to go out and have a great dinner together on her birthday, and we went to the show Beatles Love, which is an awesome show in Las Vegas. If you ever have an opportunity, go to Beatles Love. So we still made the best of it. While we were in Las Vegas, we also, there at the casino, we, hanging out, wanted to play a little bit. I have found, though, that as I become more financially successful in my career, I really don't like gambling anymore. I visualize, well, that was an iPad, or, I could have done this or that with it, or put it somewhere there. But, we had a little bit of pocket money to have some fun while we were in Las Vegas, and, happy to say I came back with the same or more money that I started with, so it worked out just fine. And the reason being is the only time that that's ever really worked out for me is when I'm ahead and when I'm doing well. I literally take money off the table and I put it in my pocket. And hopefully at the end of the night I go in there and I have, some chips inside of there. And then I take those chips and I cash them in. So with a fixed index annuity, if you've had some good gains within the market, that could be an opportunity that allows you to take some of the chips off the table, be able to protect some of the profits that you have. One of the products that I do like in the market right now is something called a return of premium option. What a return of premium option is an account that allows you to make a deposit, and if for some reason at whatever time frame you decide to change your mind, you can also cash it out and have a return of all of the deposit. So if there is a major market downturn, you can take and redeploy that money back into the market and not have to take any of the losses that you had within the market. That's one of the strategies. The second strategy I like is what is called an uncapped strategy. So uncapped strategy are strategies that give you an unlimited upside potential. So if the market does really well, you're able to capture a lot of those gains. When I was at the conference, I was really blessed to be able to be on stage with some incredible people and be able to hear kind of their story, their outlook, and their opinion on things as well. I brought this back and I got and handed it out to everybody that's here tonight. You can take this home and read through it. This is a white paper. It just came out last month by Roger Ibbotson. So I don't know if you've heard of Roger Ibbotson, but in the financial services industry, he is an extremely well-known person. The presentation that was put on talking about this white paper had a very negative outlook regarding the fixed income bond market over the next 10 years because of the risk of rising interest rates. And rightfully so, you know, it can be challenging for bonds. Again, I showed you some of the things that we were doing, but you know, even within the challenging spaces of the bond fund market, you know, if you have somewhat of like an uncapped strategy and the markets do really well, it can be a way that allows us to achieve more without having to take that money and put at risk in the market as well. So if you have an opportunity to kind of read through that book, it's hot off the press. I got that in just from the conference I was at, and it really makes a lot of sense where some of the fixed income, you know, may limit some of your upside potential growth, where the fixed index annuity on an uncapped strategy may be able to do that as well. Just take a look at some of the research that they put out. Again, if you want to get together with me, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. All that comes back to making sure that your individual goals line up with what you want to accomplish. I mean, that is why we build out an investment policy statement for each and every one of you. Every client of the firm, we have an investment policy statement, and everybody here knows exactly what the outcomes are that we're looking to accomplish for each client in the good or bad times. If you're not sure what your investment policy statement says, I would encourage you to get together with me and we can go over it and take a look at it, because I think it's extremely important that we run this fire safety drill ahead of time, so when the market does like what it's done in the last couple of weeks, we know exactly how we're going to respond to that. We can do that review of Riskalyze. Some of the times, if you want to achieve higher returns, there are some times that maybe you need to be able to, you know, be comfortable with higher losses. The way that you could see that is by pulling it up, and we can actually adapt real time some of the changes within the portfolio. The other thing that I would also encourage you to do is take a look at, you know, how much income do you need versus how much do you spend. So we focus a lot on income. You know, our most recent magazine that I had published was talking a lot of topics inside of here on the Your Retirement magazine about ways to generate more income. The next one that's coming out is going to be really good, and it's going to be talking about ways to achieve more. That could be a strategy I just explained to you about bond funds and maybe a way to achieve more. So this is something that we can get together and take a look at. We can run that fire safety drill together. If you are worried about a crash, there are also definitely some solutions as well. I would encourage you to get educated about our circuit breaker technology. We have specific portfolios that have circuit breaker technology, and within the circuit breaker technology, we have a very clear exit strategy that says if and when things get bad, what we're going to do. And some of the portfolios, we also have guardrails, and so those guardrails also would force us to sell and lock in when the market gets at a high point as well. So that strategy, Freedom Formula, there's Power Dividend, there's Dividend Kings, and we talked a little bit today about the Cape-Shiller strategy. What I believe is that you want to create a multi-step approach. Again, there's pros and cons regarding circuit breaker and the technology that we have behind that. But if we create the multi-step approach in the independent income system, it's how it all fits together really well. If you want more growth, again, one of the solutions is we could look at replacing some of the traditional bond funds with some of the fixed index annuities. Again, it depends upon your time frame, your goals, and your needs. We can actually run the numbers here. So in Riskalyze, I just did a printout here that shows on the left-hand side, this is a portfolio that's 60% invested into the SPY index, which gives us some exposure to what is commonly referred to as the S&P 500. And then 40% is into the aggregate bond index, AGG is the symbol there. That 60-40 mix would mean that this particular investor has a risk score of 51. Over the next 6 months, it would be fairly common that this portfolio could be down 10%. If things did well, this portfolio could be up 15. On the right-hand side, all I did is I replaced that aggregate bond fund with a fixed indexed annuity as an uncapped product. And you can see what it did is it took the overall risk score down to 43, but it also took the potential loss down to 7.6 from 10, so almost 25% less risk. At the same time, if the market does well, because the fixed index annuity participates in the gains versus the limitation of rising interest rates, and in this scenario, I assume that interest rates go up by 1%, you can see that particular investor was able to achieve more by being able to capture some upside. So these are the type of things that we sit and take a look at and that we work on for you as well, and again, we can kind of run those numbers. So those are kind of the conclusions of everything that I talked about. I know I was a little bit long-winded. I know I went through a lot of information, but just to give you some other updates on things that are going on that we have happening as well. Number one is we do have a presentation that's going to be coming up. It's in April. It's going to be talking about the Trump tax changes. So it's a very timely tax presentation. I'm going to spend the 60 to 90 minutes talking specifically about some of the tax law changes. I'll probably put some State of the Union address in there as well, but that presentation you'll be getting an invitation to. The next thing is we launched First Fridays, and First Fridays was, again, based upon feedback from many of you, our clients. As you know, I run an extremely busy schedule. In fact, I have a scout meeting with leaders after this to head to, and then, again, another event coming up tomorrow and next week. So with my staff and my team, we keep really busy, and knowing that, we created an event. We did it last month. We had 15 or 20 of you who stopped by, and that event is called First Fridays. So on what normally is the first Friday of every month from 1 to 3 o'clock, we have an open house. There's no set presentation. You're able to walk in, you can ask me questions, you can talk with Eric, you can talk with any of the other team members about any operational service needs that you need without an appointment on the first Friday. The first Friday coming up in February, we're all down in Florida, not all of us, but a lion's share of us, so we're going to push that back to like the second Friday coming up actually in March, I think is what it is. We also have something called the Ambassador Referral Program. So when we were sitting down and we were getting feedback and advice from our clients about where we should be spending dollars and what we should be doing with our dollars, we take a lot of that information seriously. And a lot of the growth that we have had as a firm has been a direct relation to you guys making introductions to us. So I truly appreciate all of the introductions that you've made over the years of getting to know people, and that means a lot. So what we've done is we've taken a set amount of money and we've redirected it, for this year in a program that we're rolling out called our Ambassador Referral Program. The Ambassador Referral Program is an event that we're going to be doing just to thank those clients who have been great in helping us grow our practice as well. Instead of going out and spending, thousands of dollars on a mailer for somebody who doesn't know us, I'd rather take some of that money and redeploy it back to you guys and say thank you so much for helping us grow because we do want to continue to grow. I have us down at like 7:24, and I was hoping to be done about 9 minutes ago, so I'm about 9 minutes long, and you know me being a former Marine, I like to stay on track with my time. Maybe if it's okay with everybody here, if we opened it up for maybe like 3 to 4 minutes of questions, I'll stick around if other people have questions coming up. At 8 o'clock, I did tell a group that I was going to join them. We're planning a winter weekend for scouts and the adult leaders. I was going to go join them, but I do have a little bit of time if anybody has any questions. So a lot of information to take in pretty quickly. With that being said, are there any questions that anybody has that I can answer for you? Well, I guess I will go to this slide, and I just want to say thank you so much. You know, I know a lot of us have gotten together recently. I know some of us already have appointments scheduled, and some of you maybe haven't been in to see me in a little bit. Everybody has my schedule. I am 100% available for all of you. This is everything that I do, and you know, I greatly always respect the confidence and trust that you've placed in us. Just know that I'm here and available whenever you want to come in and have a conversation. Most of the staff I let go home tonight so they could kind of get home to their families as well. But if they're not out there, if you want to call in the office, if you don't have an appointment, you can schedule one. We'd be happy to do that and set something up. Again, we'll keep you in the loop as far as these other upcoming events that we have that are going on. And again, we really appreciate it, and thanks so much for spending time with me tonight. Have a great evening.
Like I say, my late husband found out that next year you won't be able. In 8 years, it's amazing how much I worked. Even though I didn't want to, you had me off anymore.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
So it's like, okay, I'll keep it as low as I can.
Well, see, like, well, our home is and they have the option, you can go for like 6 or 8.
Yeah, I probably have.
But it's just, initially, when we got it,
What happens is you have
variable,
all of these
Actually, we found each other again.
Yeah, got it all down.
Is that a good seat up there?
picked up,
That was a great scene.
After I separated from it, maybe she would have preferred to stay together. But you know, this is a view from the peanut gallery, and it was like front and center. So I think I did the right. I think I did the right thing for
Yes, you
you.
did.
Well, the concerns I have about it would be fraud, right? So how secure is it so somebody doesn't?
bottom line is, the
It's not like FBI.
variable was up
You know, there's been a lot of stories about
He could hear
15,
that.
you know, mine was
fraud type scenario.
2.99.
The second thing is, you know, we have the wild
I need
card
to check, I need
record.
to check mine and see where it actually